Hello everyone and welcome once again to Serious Sunday. My name is Luke and this is the show where I talk about video games and things. And unfortunately this week, at risk of being monotonous, I feel like I should update the current situation with the whole Alex Mauer affair in regards to what's happening and how it presents an extremely strong argument for something that I feel is a fundamental part of the game development business, being that you should get everything in writing, and that contracts are key. As with the last time I spoke about this particular topic, there's already a plethora of information available on YouTube where you could learn anything that you really need to know about the Mauer situation. But as someone sort of stuck in the middle of it, and therefore having a vested interest in it beyond just one of my favorite games being effectively under siege, it has been an interesting journey following it. As you may be aware if you've been paying attention to the game news space recently, or if you've watched last week's video, a musician by the name of Alex Mauer has recently gone to war against many of her former employers over a contract dispute and the rights to the music that she created for a few video games. As opposed to settling her beef with the offending companies, in this case Imagos Softworks, creators of Starmazer, where this whole debacle began, and Conatus Creative, creators of River City Ransom Underground, she's instead decided to turn the Digital Millennium Copyright Act into a weapon against them by punishing the fans of the games, as opposed to the companies themselves. It began as a campaign of issuing DMCA notices to Starmazer videos, which escalated briefly through Death Road to Canada videos, which seemed to have died down a bit, and ultimately onto the doorstep of River City Ransom Underground content. As of about 2 weeks ago, Mauer started issuing DMCA takedowns against RCRU videos, one on this very channel included, in an attempt to browbeat Conatus Creative into, well, it's not overly clear, to be honest. In a sort of twisted way, I can understand the situation between Mauer and Imagos. Right or not, a job was left unfinished and there was a dispute as to whether Mauer was owed the full amount that she was contracted for, or only the amount of money appropriate to services rendered. She obviously felt cheated, but contractually may have no real legs to stand on, due to the work in question being apparently governed by a work-for-hire contract. This issue has escalated at this point to a proper legal battle, though it was ultimately Imagos that took the matter to court, and has been taking the correct legal steps to resolve their dispute. As of the recording of this episode on Saturday the 15th, Imagos has apparently filed and been granted a restraining order against Mauer, which forces her to retract her DMCA claims on Starmazer content, and the game itself. At least for a while. Presumably this may be coming down the pipe on Conatus' end as well, though we will only really see when the time comes. It would appear though that the power of the DMCA is, after all, something that should not be trifled with, as both River City Ransom Underground and the game's soundtrack have now been removed from sale on the Steam storefront and Bandcamp respectively, with rumors pointing solidly toward Mauer as the reason for this. She's been diligently swinging that DMCA hammer at any remnant of her work, and continues to issue takedowns on RCRU video content as well. It would appear that this will persist until Mauer and Conatus can resolve their issues, most likely in court, whatever those issues might be. It's still unclear to me for the most part. Reading through disjointed tweets from Mauer's Twitter account, it appears that she's fighting for ownership rights of the third of the RCRU soundtrack that she composed, but we can't really see the contracts as they aren't exactly on public record, and understandably, Conatus is being fairly tight-lipped about this situation, as honestly, as a company, it really behooves you not to be very open-mouthed about what's going on in a legal dispute. I certainly hope that they drafted a proper contract when they brought Mauer on board, as the viability of returning RCRU to the marketplace it belongs on is contingent on them being able to prove that the music is theirs by the way of their work-for-hire agreement. I can completely understand Steam's need to comply with the law in this case. They received a DMCA notice, they kind of have to deal with it. The game is still available to play if you've already purchased it, so it does seem to still survive in Steam's product database and will, more likely than not, be reinstated as soon as their legal dispute is settled, but how long that will take is yet to be seen. Legal battles can take a long time, and they might be tied up in court for a while. Bandcamp, less so. I purchased the soundtrack there a few months ago, but it no longer appears in my library, so make of that what you will. Meanwhile, the sword of DMCA Damocles hangs over this channel's head as well, with us being unable to return to our schedule airing River City Ransom Underground videos and unable to re-air the videos that are currently hidden on our channel. We're passively resisting Mauer by leaving that slot blank, ineffectual as it will be in the long run, but protest is not exactly powerful, and ultimately, when it comes to legal disputes, it needs to be respected and handled properly in court. Which is sort of the major moral of this whole story really that I wanted to get to. As a game developer and someone who's been on the publishing side in particular, the establishment before any work is done of a proper contract proves to be critical when issues like this arise. Certainly, you can't stop someone from claiming that you're infringing on their rights, or that you're in breach of a contract. You may even receive some attacks like Mauer's DMCA takedowns on your game, videos thereof, but a correctly worded and well-drafted contract will ultimately be the shield by which your business is protected and through which issues like this are kept temporary, and not fatal to your business. Canadis, Imagos, Rocket Cat, all of them are at the mercy of a he-said, she-said situation without a legally binding document to fall back on, so I hope that they do have one. Overall, the law is generally speaking on the side of the companies in this case. Even a poorly worded contract, as long as it properly details work for hire, still grants ownership of created works to the contracting party. But I think at this point we can see that Mauer plans to fight tooth and nail for ownership of her compositions, and is willing to trample anyone else in her way, and is only really showing to be mildly perturbed by legal pushback. I'm trying to keep my perspective reasonably neutral for what it's worth, but as one of the parties that's been hit in the first place, though having been lucky enough to get a retraction on my own DMCA takedown, I find it hard not to hope that the developers come out on top in this case. But it all comes down to that one piece of paper, which, once again, if you have any interest in doing game development, I hope this whole situation serves as a sobering lesson as to why, even if a relationship seems great at first, you need to have one. Contract disputes are ugly. Be protected if you ever have to deal with one. But that's all I have to say for today for Serious Sunday. I hope that you're enjoying your weekend, or whenever it is that you happen to be watching this video, and that you've learned something valuable today. If you'd like to join our little collective of video game enthusiasts who love both the playing and the creation of games, and the discussion thereof, I'd be thrilled if you decided to subscribe. It certainly helps our channel. Regardless though, I'm happy that you decided to stop by, and I hope that you'll consider joining us again next time as well. Until then though, thank you for dropping by, and take care.